Hi hair bestie. So I thought should try something different. And we're gonna do a series about get to know me. Me and why I'm the way I am and why I create the Wig Spa and pulling my hair out from the age of 13. I'm gonna get very vulnerable, but it's important. Again, for me at the age of 13, I remember being in school, being very stressed out. I remember the first time I actually seen the hair on the floor, the amount. I was in social studies class, and then from that point on, I just hid my hair loss. I didn't tell anybody I was pulling my hair out. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was very alone. Who pulls out their hair? I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't even know it was a thing until I was early 20s when I first shared it with somebody. But the only thing I do remember my mom saying, stop playing with your hair. But I can't stop playing with my hair. I constantly am playing with my hair, and at least I don't pull now, but I have pulled in the recent past, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't feel the same way it did when I was 13 or even late teens to 20s. All through my 20s, the sensation was like so relieving, and it felt so good to pull it out. It almost like your scalp hurts until you pull that hair out. It's a very unique feeling, and my people that get it, and the ones that don't, I'm hoping you can understand. But there's a sensation that you need to get rid of that because it's driving you crazy. It hurts until it comes out, and then you get the relief. And I've done it so many times where I've had bald patches. Like, that would be very common. I have certain areas like here on the top of my head was really good, through here was good. I have lots of places. I never pulled right from here down, but I've definitely got into here. This is where I like to pull lately. I've been really working through not pulling, and the one thing that really helped me not pull was finding a way to not get to my hair. And it wasn't until I actually wore a full lace wig, when I couldn't get to my hair anymore, I was able to not pull it out. But through that process of trying to cover up my hair loss, I did so much damage to my scalp, the follicle. You would never see my hair, ever, ever. I wouldn't talk about it. I just hide it, change the subject. But scalp health, because I was in such shame and I have curly hair, it was really hard to, I was scared to wash it. I was scared to wash it and then be exposed. So I didn't wash as much as I should have, and that's, I can honestly say, didn't help the hair growth, because scalp health is so important. And with a lot of wig and weave wearers, or even like synthetic, you don't wash your hair as often, but we really need to. And trying to wear like headbands, and I did a lot of braided styles. I fell in love with box braids ever since I was 13. I had a friend do them for me, and I was done. There was no more. I think I had box braids up in 25. And yeah, that was my jam. That also can do a lot of damage. And just like one day I woke up and my hairline was completely gone. It was just gone. And then the covering up came more. So headbands. I wore a lot of headbands with my hair out, trying to cover it up. Anything I could do, I would move the hairs around so you couldn't see it. And when I look back at pictures, I'm gonna try to find some pictures, but when I look back at pictures, I can tell I was covering it up, and some of it looked a mess. But you know, I, through all that, lost my whole hairline. And I just continued on with at the time I got into full lace wigs because it was like the newest thing, and I was all about it because I could just shave my hair off, and just put this wig on, and then I couldn't pull. So I kind of got out of the pulling for many, many years. But since my hair's grown back, I have had episodes where I have pulled. I pulled last week. I find when I'm trying to pull now, I'll just give my little tip, because I can get to my back hair, is I always, like in playing with a piece of hair, I always have a piece of hair I need to play with my hair. I love the texture. I don't know, I love the thing about it, the flicking of the hands. I put my hair up and down 20 times an hour. It's crazy. Now that I can get to my hair, oh, you have hair to play with. So I'm back to playing with it. But the wigs, I would still play with the hair when I found a soft piece or whatnot, but not like my own hair. That's something that everybody, the first time anyone see my hair loss is on this app. And you know what? I didn't tell anybody I was gonna do it. I decided that day that if I wanted to be vulnerable and really give my wig world everything I had to be at my rawest form. My rawest form was taking that wig off, and I had a little bit of growth from cancer, and we'll get into that later, but I had a little bit of growth, and I, at this time, still using full lace wigs, blonde. I spent a lot of time learning how to make wigs so I could create these wigs for myself. And I took a bunch of courses. My first thing I ever bought was a PDF file that I downloaded and printed it off, and was looking at the video of how to tie. That's really my journey of wigs, was just trying to cover up my own hair loss, because I never seen anybody like me. And I was like, I look weird. But I can say the one thing that being diagnosed with cancer really taught me: gives a shit. All through my cancer journey, I didn't have the hair loss because I wore my wig the whole time. I was so sick. I made myself a wig before I went into surgery that week. And I wore that wig until I was well enough, because I glued it down. I timed everything out, that I was well enough until after surgery, or a month until I started chemo, and the hair would fall out. And then I would take it off and then put it back on. Nobody seen my hair loss all through cancer. I was still embarrassed, and hair was like, it defined me. Having good hair defined me. I was a hairdresser. Looking pretty, looking perfect, that defined me. And I was always so embarrassed about it. I never wanted to talk about it. If somebody asked me, oh, what's going on with your hair? I would say, my hair's no good, I gotta cover it up with extensions. And I always said that my hair was no good. Don't do that. Your hair is beautiful. I had to look myself in the mirror because I went months without anything glued down. I just wore a wig. I let my hair grow until it got to a point where I could put on a frontal. I think that was hard for some people in my immediate life, and because I didn't look perfect. I looked like I had cancer at that point, but I kind of looked like a clown because I was like missing half the hair. But I had to look in the mirror every day and see my curly hair and be like, oh my God, your hair, that's beautiful. I had to find a new love for that, because I told myself for years that it was ugly and it was no good, and it was just because I was trying to cover up the trichotillomania, and then the traction alopecia, and then getting allergic reactions to products that no one tells you about, and then your scalp is oozing, and you're like, that. I've had so much hair stories, and we're gonna get into a little section by section, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of me. I tried to start this business. Well, I've always kind of been into wigs. First, I thought I had to have a storefront, and had some wigs, sold some, Didn't really do anything online because I didn't even think about having a website at that point. And then I moved across Alberta, and with my ex-husband, and I left one of my daughters back in Nova Scotia. Although she was an adult, it was really hard to be away from her. But as I moved here, my spouse didn't want me to work. So then you get really financially dependent on that person. And if I could say anything to women, just make sure you set yourself up, because you just never know when things flip. You always have to have something of your own going. I really wish I would have did that and kept doing that, and not let the voice of negativity tell me, no, 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 no. I'm a grown person, I can do what I want. But we'll get to that in another part. But have your own money. Have your own money. Because anything can happen, things can flip, people take stuff. They are ruthless at this point. I continued my wig learning, and I took multiple courses, some really good ones. Some I wish were still around, but they're not, or I would share them with you guys. And I really dove into it. And I've already had the skills of how to ventilate, but I wanted to know everything. How do I do everything? And because I'm a problem solver for when it comes to like my hair, and I wanted to know everything. And so that just really took my journey. And I started, it was actually called Illusions, Hair Solutions, but I noticed people couldn't pronounce it, so I had to change it. But the thing is I try to do it just making pieces from scratch, hand ventilating it scratch by scratch, and I can make some beautiful pieces. But I was like, how am I gonna maintain my hair and other people's hair at the same time? So I did do a little bit that way, but that's not a long-term game plan for me. And knowing my worth is something that I'm still really struggling with. Easily, like those wigs could be like 10 grand, easy, for the amount of time you spend into them, especially blonde, 24 inches. I can still do it, but it's just so time consuming. And I really just wanted to grow this business. And then COVID happened, and everything got shut down. And during that time, all the suppliers shut down, so you couldn't get any hair. And then my husband lost his job because of that. And so I just kind of felt frozen and stuck at that time. I was just like, we'll just keep going. And then I was diagnosed with cancer that November of 2020. And that's when everything changed for me. Everything changed. I thought I was dying. Took months leading up to actually figure out what I had, because I was just sick, losing weight, couldn't eat, had all these symptoms. And that's why I think it's important to still talk about this stuff. Even though it's Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, we need to be aware of our bodies and what's happening. I want to make more posts like that. I do love the fun posts, but this is really me. I'm very chill, relaxed. I don't like drama, I don't like stress. And I've been trying to regulate my nervous system for the last 2.5 years, which is hard when you still feel it in survival mode. But I had got cancer, stage 3. Thought I was dying. That was brutal. The things you don't even think that are brutal, constipation, the pain meds, trying to be comfortable, and you don't realize all these things have different effects on how you feel. I was a mess. Like, I went down to 100 pounds. Just thankfully, I was 150 pounds prior to that, because I was working on a lot. I had a lot of muscle. But once I had that surgery, I woke up. You know that stick person in the movies? I can't even remember what movie it is. That was me. It was like I went in for surgery, and I woke up hours later, a new body. It was the most disturbing thing for me, that maybe I didn't realize I was losing the weight beforehand. It was just so weird. Then after that, I started my chemo. That was a very rough go. very touch and go from the time I had my surgery to like my third chemo. It was brutal on me. I was sick. I was having allergic reactions. Not a fun time. Through that, my mom stayed with me, and I was so grateful. And my husband was really good at the beginning. Probably towards my third treatment, fourth treatment, things really changed. And I actually remember leaving chemotherapy after my mom left because it was just so stressful dealing with somebody like that. And my mom's very strong-minded. I grew up in a house of all women, Black women. They don't play. They don't play. And my grandfather was such a timid man. He never said anything. It just caused a lot of friction. And I wish I could go back to that time and just give my mom a hug. But we're good now. But that was stressful. And when you're dealing with somebody who thinks they're everything and that the world revolves around them, it's kind of difficult. And I remember leaving a chemo appointment. My mom just left the day before, the day before, because it was Sunday. I had chemo on Monday. And I get into the car and I was immediately yelled at, just being freaked out. And everything really changed for me on that day. I got into it with my sister, my mom, my son got involved. It's just disgusting. And I'm going, hello, I get a phone call at chemotherapy. I'm like, I'm having chemotherapy right now. I can't do this. That was really tough. And then after that, I got a lot of, I'm leaving you. I can't handle if you get cancer again. People that get cancer, like stage 3 ovarian, these super aggressive cancers. I had stuff in my lymph nodes. They thought they were gonna have to take part of my bowel. Just thankfully, my surgeon was so good that she got everything out during that surgery. And when I was going on that table, I actually have post-traumatic stress from that, but I'm getting through it. I actually had visions of me just crying to her and saying, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Because I was so scared I wasn't going to wake up. But I'm here. And things really changed with my ex for the worst. I did everything I thought I could I didn't grow up with my mom and dad living in the same house. That's a whole other story I'll get into. Different between the age gap of my mom and my dad is a lot. I love to get into that sometime. So my mom was 17 when she had me, and my dad was 60. So that, and I think this is crazy. And so my relationship became very toxic. I had my stepson who was living with us full time. He ended up moving back with his mom. It just became too stressful. The cancer was really stressful on all of us. It really affected him and my kids, but he was younger. He was just in high school, he just started grade 10. So it was really challenging, and me and him spent a lot of time one-on-one together because my spouse worked overseas a lot of the time. So month on, month off, but he was working a lot. So me and him got very close, took him to school every day. And so it was hard on him. I was like his mom, and I've been around him since he was 2. And just the fact, my ex wouldn't say, I'm just leaving you. He'd tell the kids, I'm leaving your mom. And then on top of that, dealing with years of alcoholism prior to that, all that stress did not help. I was just fighting to save my marriage. Just to save my marriage. I didn't want that. I only wanted to get married once. But once I realized that that person didn't have my best interest anymore, after a long time of realizing that, even up until still today, like I still deal with that a little bit, that abandonment stuff. But yeah, so we had a crazy thing about my divorce I'm going through. And I'll get into that when I know I can, but it's just nuts. I just became to a point as I'm healing after my chemo, between my last chemo and finally being able to ring that bell, I thought a lot about this business, what I wanted to create, how I was going to do it. For probably about 6 months, I asked for $1,000 so I could buy some wigs. And the answer was always no, I don't have it, which is bullshit. Or there would be a distraction, or he'd get mad at me, or it wasn't the right time, or it wasn't this, it wasn't that. I'm always pivoting, and I was like, I'll try this drop shipping thing. I'll source the wigs and do the drop shipping. But that didn't feel like me, and it didn't feel good. I just didn't like it. I can't do the things I want to do. It's not being presented the way I want it to be presented. And at that time, there was still a lot of inconsistency with stock and with COVID, and some of the plants were getting shut down. So it was just a mess. We moved from one host to another, trying to sell our host to try to pay off some debt. And during that time, my spouse became miserable. Miserable, okay? Difficult to deal with. And I just said, fuck it. What the fuck am I looking perfect for? I don't give a shit if he gives a shit what I look like. I don't care what, he doesn't care how I feel. Why should I care how he feels? I just said, fuck it. And was like, if I want to be real with my business and actually show people who I am, I need to take that off. And I'm happy I did it, but it's something I never thought I would ever show. I used to plan out if I die, make sure my hair is good, the things, trying to cover it up. I pivoted, I borrowed some money, and then I started a wig spa. And to be honest with you, it's the best thing I've done for my own self-confidence and going back to school, because where I have trichotillomania, and that was such a present thing all through my adolescence. It really affected when I went to school. And I also realized now that I was dealing with dyslexia, and I wasn't understanding things as most people do, and I didn't know how to express that. And I moved out when I was 16, so I was going to school by myself. It was so easy just to not go, and I couldn't cover up my hair, and then it would just spiral, and then you'd be stuck and you're like, oh, I have a bald spot, I can't go anywhere. It just really controlled everything. And I think having that dyslexia and the trichotillomania, I needed to hide that. I needed to hide it. Nobody could know, ever. And it's not something I ever thought I would talk about in public. I thought I was gonna keep that one forever. But I realized that I need to show up how I am, and how I am like this, and how I am the other way. And I really had to start loving myself again. And I'm still going through that journey of self-discovery and learning who I am. I was a young mom. I had my daughter at 16, and then my son at 18, just turning 19. I moved out. You gotta remember the backstory. My mom was young when she had me, and my dad was over here. This is what I thought was normal, but it's not. And it is normal, because people do it, and I don't want to put anyone down for doing it. I did it. I knew I was gonna have kids young, because I knew if I didn't, then I might not have them, which is really funny, because when I got married, tried to have kids, didn't happen. And I love my kids. They keep me going. These are just things I thought were normal, and it's not normal. It's not normal. And I used to know as a kid, because I would say, oh my God, you know how old my dad is? He's 70. And I'd be 10. And they'd be like, how old's your mom? And I'd say this. But now, looking back as an adult, even from being 30, just even looking at it now, and I met a half brother from my father's side, and communicating with him, I have a totally different perspective on that now. And it was so inappropriate, and my mom was really taken advantage of. I have my issues with that. And then, among other things, about things that tried to happen to me. I don't know how I feel about him. I don't know. I don't hate him. I don't love him. He was just, I don't know, just there sometimes, and I would have to go see him. It's just weird. It's just weird. But I worked through that a lot, and I really don't think about it as much, but it's weird. And all these things didn't help towards my trichotillomania, because for me, when I'm stressed and I can't regulate my nervous system because I don't know what's going on, I'm pulling. And I would go hide in a bathroom, pull for a couple hours, and then come out from the trance and be like, holy hell, look at all the hair. And then your head is raw because you just ripped out all your hair. And it wasn't until I watched one of the first reality shows of, it was like a rocker show. Anyways, I can't remember her name, but it was a blonde. And she talked about having trichotillomania. And that was the first time I was like, this is a thing. And she was having episodes of pulling, and then she would wear a hat to cover it. And that meant so much to me, because now I knew that there was something, this was something, and that there was other people. And then you still didn't really hear about it much. And then I got into counseling, and the counselor actually said, no, this has a name, this is what it's called. And I went, oh. And then I did my counseling, and then I never talked about it with anybody. Nobody. Like, this was a secret I was keeping to my death. And most trichotillomania people don't want to share that. You know, it's painful. It's painful to know that you have so many emotions in the inside that the only way you can feel better is to cause harm to yourself. And I know a lot of it, I could get some cognitive stuff help. And I mean, I will. And I'm in the process of doing that now. But through my journey of resilience and the love of hair, and for no one else to feel ashamed of their hair loss, really took over. And it was probably one of the best things, but most terrifying thing I could ever do, because it opened me up to other people's comments. Because I always thought, if I tell somebody and they're mean to me about my hair loss, because I did get some comments as a teenager, you bald bee, whatever. And those were hard. Those were really hard and not good on the self-esteem. I already had self-esteem issues. I'm pulling out my hair because I'm so stressed out. I'm a young mom. It was just a lot. And even like a few months ago, I felt like I lost my whole voice, and that it wasn't safe for me to tell anybody else my truth, because every time I do, I'm punished for it. I went very dark. I went dark on here. I went dark in life. And I just could not talk. I couldn't have my voice heard. I couldn't make a video. All I could do was cry. It was awful. But through that time, my spouse stopped giving me money and just canceled my health insurance, canceled my life insurance. And then I lost that support I was getting from him overnight, and was just chucked into, here you go, here's all these bills, and I'm not going to take care of anything. Sent me into a spiral. And through this past winter of last year and this year and spring, I did a lot of work on myself. I continued doing therapy. I've been doing that ever since I was diagnosed with cancer. And I've done it 2 separate times with 2 different counselors. I've done personal growth coach. That was very helpful. I'm doing more counseling now with one counselor to heal from my past traumas, from past abuse. And now I'm going to work on some of the cognitive behavior stuff and just work through that. But through that time, I went dark, and you probably were like, what happened to you? I was just chucked so much stuff in my lap that it was just so overwhelming that I didn't know what to do. And you got to think, my spouse made good money at the time, even before this. So I never had to worry about money, and now I have to worry about living, how I'm gonna eat, how I'm gonna survive, paying my bills. It became a lot. I did a personal development course called Landmark Form, and that allowed me, it's like an intense weekend and one evening. It allowed me to free up some of the thoughts and feelings I had about losing my marriage. And it really broke down a door for me. I needed that because I was still in distress about the whole loss. I'm losing my stepson, my family around there. Like it was a lot, and men move on quick, and within 3 months you have somebody new and you're bringing them here. It was a lot. It was hurtful. And so that course really helped. But after I did that course, I still continue with Landmark. So I do a lot of courses through them that are 10 weeks stretched out, one night a week, and you meet for so many hours. And there's big groups with like hundreds, 100 people maybe. And you just have honest, real conversations. That's kind of really helped me get through a lot of times, even though sometimes I wasn't there for. I wouldn't be involved because my voice wasn't talking. I couldn't talk. I've just been able to talk. And I felt like I was mute. I couldn't even talk to my kids. I couldn't even tell them how bad I was struggling because it was just so much. And thank God for so many like friends and community support. Those things really got me through those times and still do. So just recently I can come back, and this is actually one of the first times I'm doing a voice like video like this because it was weird, but that's what was going on. Just dealing with everything, and the court process is just a nightmare, and the lies. It's hard to believe that someone you were together with for 16 years after going through cancer and alcoholism would just chuck you away and not care, right down to your health insurance, like life insurance. Like it was very painful. And then losing that family was like my own family. It was a lot. It was hectic. I don't cry as much as I used to, which is really good. I've been really working on that. But I am working, just trying to regulate my nervous system, and I spend a lot of time alone working on wigs, and I need this time. This is the first time I've ever lived by myself. So I kind of need this time to figure out what Cassandra wants, figure out what Cassandra needs. I'm going through counseling, and what are your values? I'm still thinking about that because it was so wrapped up in my spouse. I'm just like the side person, like a shadow. And I also grew up to be seen, not heard. So that really stuck with me. And if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But I still think about that. If I'm gonna say something, I always think if I don't have anything nice to say, you better not say anything at all. Just things like embedded in your brain. And I've been really doing a lot of self-motivation, and sharing that with you. These are actually the ones that I, for myself, and I'm just climbing my way out of this, and still managing this cancer diagnosis because it was stage 3, and it did metastasize to certain parts into my lymph nodes. Ow, and they Charlie horse. And still dealing with that. And I'm still actually on cancer medication. I've been on cancer medication. When I stopped chemo 6 months later, I got jumped into olaparib, which is a cancer medication for ovarian cancer and breast cancer patients. And so I've been on that, and I've actually been on that for 4 years. I'm still on it. It was rough at first, as you feel tired, and your body and your cells are still healing. And I asked a lot of people who've gone through a separation or divorce or just a bad breakup with a long person they were with, and a lot of people said it took them 7 years to get over it. And then my friend was like, well, yeah, because that's when your cells regenerate. And I was like, I just kept doing the work on myself to get my self-esteem back, because my self-esteem was like shot. Have cancer. There's still things I struggle with. I'm in a province away from all of my family except for my son. And what if something happens again? But I know the healthcare is really good here, and I really like the tax breaks here. I stay, and I've been here for 8 years, so I really don't want to move. But I also realize my family's there, and that's just something I really struggle with. But I've said to myself, I'm going to take as long as I need to decide what's good for me, and just continue with the personal development and the work on myself and work on my business. That's why I create the wigs. I love creating my wigs, and I don't feel like it's working. I feel like I'm playing. Like I feel like I'm playing with an adult Barbie, and because that was my favorite. And I love hair, and when I did my GED, it was about how I was going to empower women and how I was going to empower them with good hair and make them feel good, make them feel special. That's what I wrote about. And I think I was like 20. And then I started my hair journey, doing hair. And I just love it. I love making a piece that just makes somebody feel like them. I just know that power, because you could be having the worst day in the world and you put on some new hair and you can take on the world. You don't care. You're like, my hair is good. I'm good. I look fly. I'm good. So I know that power. And that's when I moved to like synthetic wigs. I'm like, why can't we have best of both worlds? And I remember my supplier saying, don't you cut those? But I'm like, what? And I don't listen very well. I kind of go to the way I want to go. I guess I just don't do with well. Somebody tell me I can't do something, that I know I can do. So I push through that. But I'm just still building up my confidence, and I just wanted you to know who I was as a person. I am very kind and loving, and I would almost do this work for free, but I know I need to live. But I think it's important for us to have more open conversation about who we really are. And this isn't just about making money. This is about the love of hair and the love that I put into the hair to make that person feel special. Because there's nothing beats that good hair day. And I also didn't like the fact that women, I felt, were getting ripped off, and that really bothered me with the human hair side and the money you can spend and waste and trying to find the right supplier. It takes money, time, and I don't mean little bit of coins. Human hair is expensive. So you're testing with suppliers. That was a lot of things that held me back. And then knowing that the high price points wasn't in everybody's budget, but I want to be inclusive to everybody. Anybody can get a wig. You can get one for under $100, up to $200. You could have a human hair piece. I just wanted to have everything, give it all to you. As all the options you can have. There's so many ways that we can hack things to make it look like your hair. And I just spent so much time doing that, and I was like, I think people need this. And I hope that helps you get to know me, and just know you're not just your hair, but your hair can make you feel good. And I know the importance of that. And my main message is to all my trichotillomania girls, even if you're young, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope you can share your story so you don't feel embarrassed, and talk to somebody you trust so they can get you the help, because that's just something I didn't do. Talk to somebody, like even if it's like a close friend, teacher, guidance counselor, mom, dad, auntie, uncle, like somebody that you can trust that can get you some help to control that so you don't go in that spiral. But I don't want you to feel alone, and just know that it's okay. It's okay. Beauty comes in so many different ways. My hairline or non-hairline doesn't define me. But you know what does? I'm stronger. I'm a stronger person for this. Cancer's just made me realize I don't need to put up with crap. Life's too short not to be living your best life and being around people that are miserable. That's why I'm in solitude a lot of the time. But I'm regulating this nervous system, making myself good. I take rest when I need it, especially on that medication. You can get really tired, and I was having a lot of stomach issues. I still need to get testing for that next month, and I still have scans. I have a CAT scan coming up and a CT scan, sorry. I'm still like in my health journey, but I'm not living in that fear of death, because that fear of death was all I could see. I had to stop reading articles. I actually had to take myself off support groups because I had to not look at it anymore, because it would just bring that wound so fresh. And but that 5-year statistic scared me. It still scares me. And all the milestones, but yeah, there's hope. And maybe one day you're hiding your hair loss like me, and then the next minute you're showing it to everybody because you don't give a shit. Because their approval means nothing. The only person that needs to approve of you and love you is you. And if you're okay with the way you look, or the wig, or you just want to be free from that stigma and finally get it off your chest, share it with somebody. Maybe not right on the internet like I did, because that was kind of hard, but I'm more of like a rip it off with a Band-Aid type girl, just rip it off. But I actually, for me not to play with my hair for this hour actually is amazing. But I hope this helped you get to know me and who I am. And when I say hi hair bestie, I actually mean hi hair bestie. I want to be your hair bestie. I want to help you. I want to help you, make you feel good. Take advantage of all that stuff, and can't wait to share a little bit more about myself and my journey that I've gone through. That was a lot. Love you.